at the Stellar Development Foundation. When the war in Ukraine started, we realized there was an opportunity for us to make a difference. We had already been working with the Ukrainian government on its digital strategy, and we realized that the vision that we have for payment rails on blockchain, the vision that we've implemented along with a lot of our technology partners, could really help people in need. So over the last 11 months, we pushed hard to make it a reality. We pulled together our incredible technology organizations that you'll hear from today to create a system that shows why the Stellar blockchain and its ecosystem combine to make something truly special. We navigated months of testing to make sure that this was worthy of those that we are trying to help. And Carmen Hett, who you'll hear from today, planted the seed that got the whole thing moving. So we are so grateful to her for her vision and innovation and her trust in building together. And all of that brings us to today. The Stellar blockchain aid disbursement system is live, fully implemented by the UNHCR, who is delivering digital cash assistance to internally displaced people, IDPs, in Ukraine. Before we dig into the specifics, I want to share some important context. Cash-based interventions serve as a lifeline to the world's most vulnerable populations. This need is only growing, most notably with the start of the war in Ukraine, causing some 7.8 million refugees to flee the country and 6.5 million to become displaced within the country, which pushed the number of forcibly displaced people globally to 103 million for the first time, the highest number of forcibly displaced people in history. This disbursement system that we're announcing today is designed to help these people by serving the aid organizations that deliver aid to them directly. To tell us more, I'd like to introduce Carmen Hett, the UNHCR Treasurer, who's been a visionary in spearheading the development of this solution since the start of this year with the SDF. Hi, Carmen.
Hello, everyone. Yes, indeed. Today's a great day. It's a big step and of many to take yet to come. The solution is live, so that's good. It's fully integrated, and I'm also here wearing the financial hat. So I'm a finance professional. So we needed to ensure that this solution really meets our high criteria in traceability, accountability, making sure that we can actually report dollar by dollar. So we are confident today that the reporting tool is fully in place and we can deliver in an accountable way. So the solution is live, and we have basically implemented now in Kiev, in Lviv, and in Vinnytsia, and more to come. So far, so good. So it has absolutely achieved what we wanted to achieve. So we're on a good path here.
As I've said many times internally to our team, and also I think to you, Carmen, you have really pushed us to be better and to make sure that what we delivered was of the top quality. So what role does cash assistance play in the UNHCR support of IDPs and refugees?
It obviously plays an incredible role. It plays a crucial role because it gives people really the choice. Because we have to imagine any of us, if we were to be forcibly displaced, what we would actually need. So we really need to have financial inclusion as well. So it provides and strengthens livelihoods and also economic growth. It means that people really have that choice of what they need and when they need it. So they have access immediately to the financial ecosystem. So that's really key.
And you already touched on a bit about the notion of the transparency and putting your financial hat on. But what are the benefits to the UNHCR of this system that we've built together?
Yeah, the benefits are vast and multiple. So on one side, we have instant access. It provides instant access to the financial ecosystems with obviously bulk disbursements. So many beneficiaries can be reached in no time, in an extreme rapid way. There's transparency, so we can basically follow the money, follow the data all the time, anytime, anywhere, on any device. So we have full visibility on all transactional interaction. As I said, access is very important. So access to money, but access to markets as well. And basically for the most vulnerable, to make sure that they can really survive, because we're talking about survival here. Stability, because it's the USDC here we are using. So that means that anytime on the wallet that the beneficiaries can actually carry the US dollar. And it is not, obviously, it's not due to devaluation at this point. So they have a choice as and when they withdraw, partially or fully. And it is portable. So as people are on the move, they have access to that money all the time, as and when they need it. And there's the cash out. So the cash out options are very important because it needs to be contextually relevant. And the access to money for survival is crucial through these solutions. So it's not a hypothetical solution. It's a solution that is contextually relevant and is working.
Yeah, I love to hear those words. We've worked together for so long to make this happen. You already touched a bit on the notion of the transparency, and from a financial management and reporting, is that something that's really important, not just to obviously the UNHCR as it's doing its own reporting, but to the UNHCR donors?
Yes, of course. So we have high scrutiny on each and every dollar that we get to deploy assistance and aid in general. The key here is that we need to get visibility that we can do that reporting. So whilst we have data available on the chain, we need to make sure that we have on time, real time, the information available. So the scrutiny is higher than actually in kind assistance. In kind would be if we deliver a bag of rice. So the key here is that every dollar is basically monitored real time and reported upon.
Thank you so much for that. All of these things that you just mentioned are so important and have so much to do with just the value of blockchain, but also just the value of these tools that we've built together. We wanted to share a message from Deputy Minister Bornyakov of Ukraine. The Ministry of Digital Transformation has been supportive of the development of this solution over the past few months. So we'll go ahead and play that now.
Greetings, everybody. Ukraine has been fighting for the future, its democratic choice, and its survival as a nation. 2022 is the hardest year for our country. For 11 months, we have been fighting with the brutal, illegal Russian aggression. Almost a year, Ukrainians have been fighting not only for their country's survival and sovereignty, but also to enhance European security and prove that democracy is still the most vibrant form of governance. Today, another biggest challenge of Ukraine happened. Dozens of Iranian drones in the very heart of Ukrainian capital, targeting critical infrastructure when people were supposed to be going to work. Today, 30% of power plants are destroyed. People have lost their access to the essentials, electricity and water supply. Russian energy terrorism is a new way of blackmailing not only Ukraine, but the whole world. Russian terrorism isn't related to winning over strategic objects. This was made to scare, distract, and let's be honest, to kill Ukrainians. Back in 1991, Ukraine chose to be an independent, sovereign country. And in 2022, we are fighting for a choice. From the early days of full-scale invasion, we realized that we can win only with the help of technologies, new approaches, and innovations. Ukraine is using cutting-edge technologies such as blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and Web3 in face of the dreadful challenges of the Russian war. And today, we can see how embracing blockchain technology allows us to scale humanitarian efforts in a way that wasn't possible before. The United Nations Refugee Agency and the Stellar Development Foundation launched a first-of-its-kind blockchain payment solution for digital cash distribution to internally displaced persons in Ukraine. For fleeing Ukrainians, and primarily for those whose bank accounts are accessible this pilot project, providing humanitarian assistance using a digital wallet based on blockchain technology, and will serve as a possible lifeline for survival. The project itself is a vivid example of how blockchain has the potential to transform the way humanitarian funds are allocated. The use of blockchain technology allows to ensure that the most vulnerable people will have access to funds provided in their name. In this way, humanitarian efforts all over the world will be strengthened in an unprecedented way. The Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine is grateful to the United Nations Refugee Agency and the Stellar Development Foundation for standing with the people of Ukraine and doing this in such an efficient and modern way. Thank you.
So Carmen, after hearing from Mr. Bornyakov and understanding you already had a really good sense of the challenges in Ukraine, why did you believe this could be a good solution to pilot there?
Yeah. Like we just heard, that obviously Ukraine is a global lead in the development of technology solution. They have a wide companies obviously available inside the countries as well. So from that, also the people themselves are very digitally literate, and also the regulatory environment, very important, of course, to be able to access in a digital way the financial ecosystem. And that allowed, so the combination on the regulatory environment and as well the technology allows basically to reach the people in need. As I said before, what is most important to us is obviously, to implement solutions that work and that are basically giving that lifeline to people in need. So Ukraine in this sense is specific, and we would have to see how else we can roll out this kind of solution further in the world. So
Thank you,
yes.
Carmen. That's great. And I'd love to turn to the technical components that bring this solution to life. Key pieces being Circle's USDC, the Vibrant non-custodial wallet, and MoneyGram International. So let me just provide a really quick overview of how the flow of funds and how they get from the UNHCR to IDPs in Ukraine. So the UNHCR is responsible for program eligibility, beneficiary enrollment, and the allocation of relief aid, as well as the overall protection of the beneficiaries. The UNICC serves as the technical solutions provider for UNHCR. It manages the back-end technology with the full internal implementation of the Stellar disbursement platform and integration into the UN's cash and reporting systems, making it the first independent instance of Stellar Aid Assist, which is so exciting to me. The Stellar network is the blockchain that transmits the funds and holds the record of truth, with the Stellar Development Foundation providing technical and programmatic support. USDC is a one-to-one backed digital dollar issued by Circle, and it provides a trusted digital dollar stablecoin for a safe store of value. Vibrant provides the digital non-custodial wallet software that enables program participants to receive and store their relief aid. And MoneyGram International provides hundreds of thousands of locations around the world where participants can cash out their digital dollars into local currency. Some MoneyGram locations support cashing out physical USD and/or euro, depending on user preferences. So MoneyGram is integrated with several large banks in Ukraine, so it allows for seamless digital cash outs to the beneficiaries' bank accounts from their phone, if that's the way they choose to do the cash out. So now I'd like to invite Dante Disparte from Circle and Anna Greenwald of MoneyGram International to join this discussion and talk about the specifics of this innovation. Dante, can you speak to the value of having a digital dollar as a secure store of value in the humanitarian aid use cases like this?
Sure. Thank you, Denelle. It's great to be with you and with Carmen and Anna here today. This is one of these really powerful examples that, while it might still be in the prototype phase, I think is the type of innovation that should be in the hands of everyone, everywhere. In no small measure, when you have disasters and humanitarian crises like Ukraine, and I should point out, these types of necessities aren't just for conflict zones or emerging and developing countries, but very much here in the United States in many places, the movement of money in a disaster scenario is often strictly about supply chain management and logistics. When you have trusted forms of money in digital form, such as USDC, and you have blockchain networks like Stellar, and you have the integrations with networks like MoneyGram around the world, you now have a form of money that can be sent to people with the instantaneity of the internet, have the underpinnings and the fundamental trust of the US dollar, and then have the auditability and the corruption resistance of a completely perfect transmission medium in the form of blockchain networks. And think about what we're improving upon. In many cases, humanitarian aid disbursements are physical pallets of cash delivered to a physical airbase or an airport somewhere in the world. And those pallets of cash are nothing short of honeypots for corruption, bribery, and fraud. The type of money we're moving in this prototype, in this project, is anything but a honeypot for corruption, bribery, and fraud. And so I think what we've done here in Ukraine and what we hope to do in other emergencies around the world, we should not forget Afghanistan. We should not forget a lot of forgotten crises around the world where this type of prototype can be very meaningful, should be a part of this new digital humanitarian blueprint. So Circle, USDC, we're all very, very proud to be a part of this announcement today.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the things that I've always talked about is just how important it is to be able to send the value that you send is the same as the value that you receive. And so what you guys have built and the opportunity to be able to leverage a digital dollar that is one-to-one backed is just so important. I know you guys know this, but to be able to have that, to be part of the solution, it just really makes it work seamlessly.
Absolutely. And the point I was going to make is again, this is not the first time USDC has been integrated in such a large scale humanitarian project. A number of years ago, at the height of the crisis in Venezuela, USDC had a very similar project to provide for corruption resistant, instant and auditable peer-to-peer payments for doctors across the country supporting the pandemic and disaster response at that time. The key, of course, is it's not enough to do this once. There's so much great humanitarian need around the world. And as Carmen said at the outset, helping people in acute scenarios like the war in Ukraine is one piece of the puzzle. Ensuring that you're advancing, material financial inclusion objectives along the way, I think is also very critical. And so we're concerned with not only providing people with no buyer's and spender's remorse by having a trusted digital dollar, but as MoneyGram has provided, now you have this global on and off ramp so that those digital dollars are not potentially stranded on your mobile device or your phone, but they now enjoy a global exchange point all over the world through this partnership with MoneyGram as well.
And that's a perfect segue into a question for you, Anna. This solution is as much about blockchain innovation as it is about how traditional services and fintechs are coming together to make a difference. Alex and I always talk about the fact that this is really that blending of the old world and the new world. And it's one of the things that we talk all the time about how that enhancement just really creates so much opportunity. Can you speak to how these off-ramps into local currency are meaningful for IDPs?
Yeah, thank you. And first, I just want to echo what Dante said about how thankful MoneyGram is to be part of this conversation and part of the solution with UNHCR and Stellar. I think Dante used the word acute in talking about meeting the needs of this population. And I think that's one of the places where MoneyGram provides the most value, is that having these physical networks and integrations with banks and the licensures needed to do cash disbursement, it's very time consuming. And so I think one of the challenges faced with refugees and with IDPs is overcoming that initial hurdle of getting into the market. And so I think MoneyGram's ready-made cash disbursement network that we've spent decades building out can quickly now be turned into this incredible asset in this partnership. And so again, we're just so thankful to be here and to get to utilize that network alongside you guys.
We launched the MoneyGram relationship with the Stellar Network in June. And to see it not just be live in 180 or so countries globally, but to be able to be used in this way is, for me, just sort of the reason why I'm in this space. So I'm so grateful to the support that we've had from MoneyGram from the team there to be able to make this come together. Dante, it's obviously been a really tough time in our industry with many skeptics out there about the utility of blockchain. This announcement is a direct counter to that, right?
It is. In fact, a year ago yesterday, I sat in the Senate Banking Committee, having to not only defend the activities of Circle, but in some ways the entire industry. And yes, it has been not just what we refer to in this industry a winter, but perhaps an ice age. And at our darkest time, I think this example today is a good example of a bright light. Also, I would argue a year ago, Circle announced a broad program known as Circle Impact, in which we made a few big commitments. One of them was that we would allocate $1 billion or more to minority depository institutions in the US and community banks. We've done that. The second is that we would launch a digital financial literacy program with historically marginalized communities and colleges. We've done that. And the third and perhaps most important pillar is that we wouldn't just sit back idly while humanity suffered or there were dire humanitarian crises. And I'm again pleased to say that when UNHCR and others had to make an exacting choice about which digital currency would be a part of this program, that USDC was there. And so the key for me, though, is these opportunities shouldn't just be pilot projects. Humanity and the need for disaster response requires that we pre-position these capabilities well before a conflict or a disaster strikes. And so we look forward to partnering with Stellar, MoneyGram, the United Nations systems, and candidly aid agencies all over the world to ensuring that these otherwise open digital public goods are readily available for people everywhere well before a disaster strikes. And so I think that's our priority as we look into 2023. And so we could end this otherwise dark year on a slightly bright note, and not rest on our laurels that this is just a pilot project today. This should just become a part of a norm all over the world.
Hear, hear. And Carmen, when we talk about this experience and how we can use this experience to prepare for future crises, how do we build these solutions so that they pre-exist before a crisis event strikes?
Yeah, preparedness is key. So I think that this is one step. We have a solution in place, and we now need to see how adaptable it is elsewhere. And it is, there's no doubt. But we need to keep in mind that these solutions require to be useful with the people at the center we serve. So in each context, we need to look contextually what really, what are the key criteria to make this happen. And our ultimate goal is to be able to provide anytime, anywhere, on any device, the benefits. So UNHCR has been in that business for some time. So that's what we do. Each time we have an emergency, but we always can get better. So we need to build upon these seeds. I think the seeds are now in the ground. So we need to make sure we can leverage them sufficiently. And at the baseline, we need to be able to follow the money and follow the data. So I think once we overcome that, then we are ready for any disaster scenario. Also, a key ingredient is the regulatory environment. So we need to make sure that each and every jurisdiction, we understand what we can do, because we are not essentially in the business to run a parallel system. We are here to integrate to the financial ecosystem, and that people can go about their lives like any of us would wish every day. So this is how we see it, to leverage fully the current solution that is being put in place.
I think that's really important. And Anna, I wonder if you could think about this solution. We tried really hard when we first met with Carmen and others from the UNHCR to make sure that this wasn't a square peg, round hole, and to make sure that we weren't just like trying to force blockchain into a situation that didn't make sense. Certainly, we've been working with you guys since June, and have you seen that like this is different than what you guys have offered? You guys have worked in humanitarian situations as well before. And how do you feel about the way that this works with respect to the different offerings in terms of cash versus bank account kind of thing?
I'm so glad you're asking this question, because it's something we think about a lot at MoneyGram. I think what's unique about this use case is that it demonstrates truly the best of what each of us have to offer. It demonstrates how you can blend and create a bridge, and it moves us beyond the conversation about displacement. And for me, it was never about displacement. It was always about how do we take the best of what each of us have to offer and create true value. And so I think this is just one of those things where 1 + 1 doesn't make 2. 1 + 1 opens the universe to something much, much bigger. And again, moves us beyond the conversation about displacement and creates a model, hopefully for other parties like ours, to see that there really is this powerful relationship that delivers value, and we can move beyond seeing one another as competitors or displacing technologies.
Yeah, Alex likes to say that people have been trying to disrupt your business for the last 50 years. We're actually trying to get your business and to use all of the tools that you've built to be able to bring good to everyone. Dante, you have spent the better part of your career really focused on these kinds of issues, humanitarian aid, and spending time really for the folks that are in the most need. When you look at the tools that we're offering here today, how do you see this as different from what you've done before?
Yeah, I mean, for one, this is no longer an abstraction, and I cannot say enough about how grateful I am to Carmen and the UNHCR for having had the courage of trying to build something that is not a science experiment, but rather that is in deployment. So I spent a number of years on FEMA, that's the U.S. Emergency Management Agency's National Advisory Council, a number of years in the insurance industry. And I am myself a disaster displaced person. When Hurricane Hugo destroyed Puerto Rico in the late 80s, along with it went, any semblance of normality in my life. And so when speed matters most, friction stands in the way, and moving money in analog forms stands in the way. Remember, here in the United States, we moved more than $6 trillion of taxpayer-funded money to everybody in the country. And so much of that money was ultimately lost, enough to fund the totality of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, I should point out, in no small measure because the pipes are antiquated, they're leaky, they're backward-looking, and they're plagued with opacity. The form of money that we're talking about here and the form of integration that we've designed together with Stellar, of course, with MoneyGram, is a form of money that is auditable, portable, and ideally universally usable. If you and I were going to do this with physical cash, it wouldn't work. And ironically, in the context of a pandemic like COVID-19, it would be as limited as our arms can stretch, and would have all kinds of other limitations. So this is not meant to be a substitute innovation. It's just meant to provide additional levels of financial support and humanitarian support. And so I'm excited for what this prototype means, and how this can be deployed, including, frankly, domestically here in the United States.
I think it's really important. By the way, I've been monitoring the comments to see if there are questions. We have just a few more minutes if anybody wants to add some in there. One of the things I was going to say is the simplicity of which this works, where the individual, the IDP receives a text message to download the wallet, and then they know that they have the opportunity to receive aid from the UNHCR, and it immediately gets put in their wallet using the technology. There's actually a blog post that we have up on our website that'll explain the technical back end of how this all happens. This is really what you say in terms of getting to sort of the heart of the issue and sort of changing the dynamic, really, and just creating an opportunity to put the power in the hands of the IDP. And I think in these situations, they don't feel that they have a lot of power, but this allows them to choose to cash out, to hold their value, to cash out a part of their value, that type of thing. So it's really exciting. There is a question here, and Anna, this probably goes to you. What is the KYC requirement on the recipients, and who is in charge? It's both UNHCR and Anna. But Anna, you can start.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. So KYC, we're talking about a global solution, and KYC requirements differ around the globe, but I'll speak specifically to Ukraine. Like we mentioned a couple times, our relationships in Ukraine are primarily with banks. And so both us and the bank, we require the consumer to have identification that proves that they're the person who should be receiving the funds. And so along with that, their name, their address, their phone number is what's required to be KYC'd in person.
And Carmen, you are the UNHCR is the entity that actually determines the beneficiaries that are receiving the aid from the UNHCR.
Exactly. So UNHCR is in charge of registration, enrollment, eligibility, determining how much everyone will ultimately receive. So UNHCR is not performing the KYC. So it's the financial service provider at the cash out that is performing KYC.
Well, we are at time. Thank you all for joining. This has been such a great announcement, and it makes me feel like this year, all that we've worked for together collectively is just so worth this kind of thing coming together before the end of the year. So thank you all for supporting the work and for joining us in this journey. And we want to continue. This is not just going to be the only thing that we do together. So thank you again. Thanks for joining today, and thanks for the work that we've done together here.
Thank you.